Hey, welcome to the process. My name is Dr. John Bush. This is my continuing overview series 2015 to 22 ADP versus end of the season fantasy points. We focus on wide receivers. So this is the before and after, and certainly has relevance to all drafts. It's important for us to understand historic trends. Not that we should follow anything, but I think it points out key aspects that deserve deeper investigation. And that's what data should do. It should drive you towards deeper investigation and to allow you to think about your opinions and, try to maybe change things. And that's the hardest thing for us to do. I've done some discussion on biases and how we think about thinking and these kind of thing in a lot of my early lessons. And you could check those out. They're all out there on the scienceoffantasyfootball.com in my previous 2022 and before lessons. So again, we're doing all this, and I've done quarterbacks, running backs, tight ends, and now wide receivers. This is for us to start our investigations. Okay, we're not necessarily believing that things are going to happen or not happen, right? So, you could be too much of a contrarian just to, be a donkey butt just because that's what you want to do. Make sure it's the right time to zig versus zag. So, that's part of what we will go through here in this block of material. I think it's very intriguing. Again, scienceoffantasyfootball.com. I hang out there. Me and D. Mike do our podcast, etc., etc. So you should check out all that material. D. Mike's material on his daily, or I should say his weekly fantasy consistency scores and big value. He has a very interesting take on things, and he has some his stuff really works well on quarterbacks and running backs. It's as good as everybody else's on the others, but it's better on quarterbacks and running backs, and those can be really tricky areas, so check that out as well. Okay, let me go through the block of material here. And let's start here with, I'm looking at the positional pre-seasonal ADP number. So the first ADP, so this year it's Justin Jefferson, to the 60th. So we'll get a feel for trends. This is 2015, 2022. I've highlighted the top 30% and the bottom 30% in red and the top in green. So you can scroll through and kind of see the interesting years. 2027 was a sad year. 2022, it had a block of sadness here from about 12, 13 down here. It got lean and mean here. And actually, even if there's a blank, that means that individual didn't score anything. So there was some sadness here. So it got real shaky last year here. And you can see the year before, man, it crushed it, right? The top 21 were in some of the highest we've seen. The COVID year, other than the number one, which must have been an injury of some type. I don't know. Was that Cup? I don't know whose injury that was. But there you go. Nice. 3 sadness here. in 2019. Pretty good here, no failures, early on. We had definitely had some failures here and a few here. So you can look at about, let's say, the 15th up. There's not a lot of failures, 1 to 2 per year kind of on average. And last year was no failures, just everybody kind of looked the same, which is interesting. So now, are we going to get some really nice production, 2023? Or are we going to get kind of the same, kind of almost everybody's identical kind of thing? And you'll see what that looks like in a visual way with my box and whiskers. So I think that's very intriguing how we can capture that population distribution there a little bit. So anyway, and then I also generated the median over the 8 years, and you can see, unsurprisingly, the about the WR2 and up, a lot of goodness. Start getting some severe failures below that. So WR3s and 4s and 5s and whatnot, it gets really tricky really quick. So when you're getting worried about those deep wide receivers, statistically you should, because look, it's like a minefield and looks like about every other step you could blow up. So it is not safe out there. These people say, "Oh, I'm gonna find the sleeper," etc. Well, if they're as good as average, that means if they call 2 sleepers, one of them's a bust, or one of them's a blow up. So, and notice even the ones that are not red, there's no green. So it's not like, wow, I got a great one. Nah, you just got one that rises above the fray a little bit in the second, third, and you'll take that and run with it. So your expectations should be moderated as well. And I'm not sure I haven't seen any discussion about this landscape at all, ever. And I've said this more than once, and I'm glad the few of you that listen to me, hopefully I'm imparting this feeling that, it's just, you shouldn't go down the dark hallway and expect not to run over something. Okay, that's foolish. And going into your draft just kind of everything's going to be fine. No, it gets lean quick, folks. And you need to be aware of when things are uncertain and tricky. Okay, going through a minefield, as you walk up to it, feeling pretty good, but then once you step into it, what do I do now? And so that can cause you to jump when you shouldn't, or when you should. And so people get all tricked by that. It is, to me, it implies a multiple sub process that as you go early, middle, and late in your draft, you need to be potentially doing and researching different things and aspects. And I don't know if that's as clear as it should be. I haven't seen that. So it is, the clarity gets pretty murky pretty quick. Okay. So I thought, and I probably should, my bad for my videos before, what is a box and whisker? This is a visual of what a box and whisker is. If you imagine a piece of pie cut into 4 slices, each slice is a quattro. That's right, quad is 4. So what this shows is the median. That's 50% of the data is above and below that line. This box represents quadrant 2 and 3, okay? Quadrant 2 and 3. And if you add those up, that's about 60%. The maximum is this quadrille, about 25% above and 25 below, I believe. I may have thought it was 15. It's 25, so you can go back and erase all that. It's been a while since I forgot that. But I'm interested in what does the population look like. And by the way, if you see little dots, that's outliers. These are just sitting so far out. That would like be Kelsey, right, in tight end. He sits so far out of the population, you have to put him in his own box, so his own little area there. And this is the range. If there's an X, that's the average, but the median is the way to look at the population there. So if we look at the population, the first, who's 60th of the fantasy point averages that year from 2015 to 2022, we see some things. Here's the box. These are the whiskers. So right away, something I see is the top in 2022 was some of the lowest that's been the last 4 years. So 2022 was strange that way. Notice the bottom whisker was one of the highest we've seen. So that means overall, if you look at the distance, this year, last year, 2022, was very compact. In other words, the wide receivers were a lot like each other in distribution. And you're saying, well, what is the opposite of that? Well, look at 2015. The wide box and the deep whiskers and one of the top whiskers. So this is in a very stretched out population. Okay, so you could imagine what this means as far as drafts, that picking one versus another, the end of the season, there's a lot more effects and probably gets worse later on after, deeper into the draft. Last year, the consequences weren't as bad because it was all kind of a compact year. So again, people have not been talking about the population of the wide receivers or any other positions and what that might mean for 2023. So what happened last year, I think this contraction in this population kind of shrinkage where the top and the bottom were closer together than we've seen, was that the quarterbacks, I think there were some injuries, some of the older quarterbacks later in the draft last year, and I think that really messed up the distribution. At least that's my hypothesis there. Okay, so that tells you that we should be aware that 2023 probably will not be like this. So last year, if you were able to win by some of your deeper wide receivers, you may not find that outcome this year. I would argue that the box is probably going to look more like it has looked, wider box. Okay. So the 7 of 8 years has been a broad kind of distribution versus more of a compact in the box. At least that's the idea. Okay. So be aware that as you think things were safe, because, hey, everything kind of seemed to work out last year late, maybe that was a result of some other things, especially quarterback activity and whatnot. So that's what I'm thinking. right now. Okay. If you look at the median score, and remember, the median is the halfway point of each of these ADPs. So you had 8. So the halfway point was 286? That was the halfway point there. So we plot that right there. Okay. Number 2, the halfway point was 316. So we had kind of a variation there. And is this the third? Yeah, 230 back up to 279, 263, 301. Then look at this drop down, 189. So does that mean that the 5th one this year will suck? No. This is just a snapshot over the last 8 years, just to give you a trend. What I see from all this distance between here and there is kind of like a little miniature box here, kind of a box and whisker, that a lot of variation. It's really stretched out in what could happen. So people think wide receivers are safe. They are versus running backs, and we've got that data. But within, especially early on, you get a lot of variation. And notice the slope of this trend line, which is the dots, red dots. Notice it really pops down to about the 6th or 7th, and then it slows down, and we kind of catch another area here, and then this kind of almost flattens out into a plateau region here. So we get some trends that have happened over the 8 years. One might draw some, and I don't know if I can draw. Let's see, can I draw here? Yeah, oh, that's an arrow. So looks to me like, come on, John, I don't think I want that. Oh, look at that. That's neat. I don't think I want that. Capture cursor, hide cursor by drawing. Oh, I don't want that. Let's see. Freehand. That's what I want. So it seems to me that's kind of an area. It's hard to draw tiers sometimes. This kind of looks like a tier to me. This definitely looks like a break point here. And then, so I can see 1, 2, 3, and then notice the length here, folks. Notice the length here at about the 28th pick back to 60th. Wow. You're drawing almost the same character. I know there's some failures here. If you look, there's only 4 or 5 really above the trend line here. Okay, relative to the numbers, right? So if you look here, here, okay, so only 5 right here. And then looks like you got 3, but look at the number. Looks like you got 3, but look at the number. Looks like you got 4, but look at the number. So higher upside in these areas, lower, and right here looks like a complete, you talk about a dead zone, you know, very intriguing here, this trend. So there are some goodies, but realize we're talking, if you can get one in this region that scores 200 fantasy points, you've done something. You have beat most of your league, if not all your league, if you can grab one of these 5 outliers on average. So you realize that, what, 28, 32, so 5 out, what, 1/6 So maybe two of you in your league will get lucky and draw some of these guys. So you're in the top two in your league in drafting. If you can consistently pick, and notice you're not picking these guys up in here. See, this idea, oh, I'm going to wait down here and I'll grab one of these. No. Data says, no, you're not on the trend there at all. So, no, you're not doing that. Okay. So, interesting that 28 seems to be a cutoff point. And if you look at the current ADPs, I think Pittman is going about the 28. So if you start looking at him back to the 60th by ADP, you can kind of get a feel for the kind of players. So I would urge you to take a look at those 32 and do some research and find the 5. Who are the 5? You're saying, well, what happens for 6? Okay, who are the 6, right? You see, oh, there's only 4. Okay, who are the 4? But I'm telling you, they're on average, there's 5, 6, 4. There's a few goodies out there. And now you know to hunt for them. Okay? That doesn't mean every one is a goodie, right? Because you got a lot of below line failures too. Look at it. Most everybody is below 150. Okay, a lot of your picks are going to be duds. Sorry. But you need to know that. Only a few. So it's what is that? It's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So 5 versus 16. Okay? So 3 times less goodies versus sads, I guess. I don't know. Whatever you want to call it. So most likely, if you're picking randomly, you're going to get a bust. So now be proactive. Start hunting. Okay? And research doesn't mean listen to Twitter. Go back, look at what is the public thinking? Is the public telling you something about the quarterback? Okay? Are there some other situations? Last year they did really good, but somehow they moved a team, or there's new situations. Why are these people going to shine this year? Try to make some cases here. Do some decision trees. I got a whole lesson on decision trees and things on how we can think about the different alternative scenarios, right? So I'm giving you homework here, folks. Wide receivers in PPR are critical. And I'm telling you, there is an opportunity to direct your research. The other cases, the other ones pre-28, so 27 and up, you got a closer, almost 50-50 above the line and below the line. If you think about it, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and maybe 7. And then below the line is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 8. So it's almost 50-50, maybe 40-60. So you have a lot more shot at grabbing good ones. Doesn't mean you shouldn't research. So in those, I would look to see who's going to fail. Whereas in the 28 to 60th, I would look who's going to succeed. I would kind of flip the script. And before that, look for the failures. Because if you could spot those, then if you avoid those, then most likely you're hitting the line or above it. So it's got to be at least okay to good, right? And then in the top 5, 6, you really need to think about the extreme variation. This data tells me the public is over or under exuberant on some of these plays. And there are some mistakes that are made a lot. If you think about it, there's an extreme we have no dots other than number 1, even close to the line. There's either all good or 3. So what is it? 4 good, 3 sad. So you do not want to waste an early pick on the ones that are sad. So you realize it is a coin flip in there. So it's not safer by any means. And you need to really tear apart the top 7 hard. So I would kind of break the ADPs up, looking at historical data and apply different research methods to try to address that. Okay? Nobody is talking about that on Twitter. I don't know what the hell they're doing, but they're just not doing you any favors, folks. You're being tricked, fooled, and you're being clickbaited into God knows what. Okay? Look at the landscape first, right? If you're going to plow your field, where's the best place to put your corn versus your soybeans? Come on. There's a way to do this, and it is not to focus down tree by tree. You need to understand the forest, and I just don't understand why people perceive and go bottom up when they should go top down. I don't know what the hell they're doing. Okay, let me go. Okay, I'm preaching here. Dr. Bush is preaching. Let's see, now what am I doing now? Let's see. Oh, let's see here. Oh, I'm still going. If I do that. Oh, okay. So I got out of the drawing there. Okay. So right here is the ADP, and what I did now is carved it into relative to the best that's ever been in the 8 years, and I called that 100%, and everything else is a proportion of that. Okay, so I'm going to start with lesson 2, coming back through here. I've been running my mouth for 27 minutes. I know you're wore out, tired, time to drink a beer. But this is where I'm going to start, okay? And I think I just gave you gold on the last one there. That drawing really helped. I should do more of that. Okay, guys, come back. We're having fun. I'll pick it up with this part of the lesson. Woo, woo.